Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar brought to you by Shared Services Link and sponsored by TradeShift. Today, we're going to be looking at where AI works in e-invoicing and the 5 sub-processes. My name is Sarah Fain, and I am the head of content at Shared Services Link. And I'm delighted to be joined today by our expert speakers, Raphael Brace, the Chief Product and Technology Officer at TradeShift, and Rolf Jensen, SVP Technology Platform at TradeShift. You, of course, have a very important role to play in today's webinar as well, and that is just to make sure that you get the most out of this hour. We know on these virtual events we can't see you, but we really can feel your energy when you participate in the polls, when you ask us questions, and we really do love to hear from you. You can also ask us questions to our expert speakers here. The best way to do so is usually over on the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see a little question box that will come into my inbox, and we'll put them to the speakers in about the last 10 minutes of the webinar. Just to preempt some of the commonly asked questions, the slides and the recording will be available on our site after the webinar. And if you like what you're here today, or if you have any more questions, we really are here to help. So please reach out to us and spread the word if you like what you hear. So just a little bit of the context for today and why we're here. Finance, shared services have been on the digital journey for decades now, and the goal of touchless. And automation has really only taken companies so far, but there is a new player in the game, AI, and it's really proving to be a rocket fuel to get people to go from somewhat digital to truly digital. We're seeing it drive down manual effort and really transforming finance departments in some amazing ways. So in this webinar, we are going to be exploring where AI and machine learning help in your e-invoicing process and your AP process, and specifically the 5 sub-processes that lend themselves well to automation. Let's go have a quick look at the agenda for today. We are going to be looking at the current AP technology climate. We're going to be looking at some of the best-in-class metrics for AP departments. The 5 areas AI can achieve best-in-class results, and AI the TradeShift way. I just want to say again, in rehearsals, it's great to see people who are just so passionate about how AI can really help transform finance. So again, you're in for a treat today, and we hope you ask lots of questions to get what you want out of the session today. So with that, I'd like now to hand over to Rafi.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Let's start with the first section of this presentation, and to set, the landscape and the evolution of payables practices. And touchless or straight-through processing is the holy grail. Is basically, how do you get an invoice sent by a seller, documented, invoice coding, approved, two-way through a match, and then getting the invoice paid without all the minimal manual intervention. So it's all about automation, straight through processing, making sure that there is no extra time or delays added to the process. And this is all about automation. And this is very relevant for artificial intelligence, because the purpose is actually to find efficiency and automation. Today, you can see on the percentage that companies consider that only 32% of those companies actually are in average straight-through processing. It means that the majority of the flows are not, and they require human intervention. What we will see during this presentation is AI can really help actually finishing the work for the user, if not completing the entire transaction. Before we get into talking about the landscape and the evolution of artificial intelligence, it's time, we have a first poll, I think, that we're going to run. Sarah, go ahead. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. So up on your screen now, you should see our first poll question of the day. And we want to understand if you're using AI and if you're currently getting any acceleration from your AI tools. So please select the one that best matches your situation. Have you implemented an AI solution in payables already? Are you looking for a solution to accelerate your efficiency? Are you not currently looking for AI, or maybe you're just not sure what you need yet? Great to see lots of you participating. We have about half of you voting. So I'll be closing the poll in about 3, 2, 1. A race to the finish there. Thank you. Now coming up on your screen, lots of you, 54% are currently looking for a solution. 8% have already implemented a solution, 15%, so you're not really actively looking at the moment, and 23% are still kind of evaluating your options and maybe not quite sure what you need there. So really interesting to see those results. So it'd be good to take your
It's
take
a
on
good
that,
news
Rafi, as well.
to see that the organizations are thinking or planning to adopt AI for their automation and their efficiency. So 54% are looking to AI. So 54% are looking for the transformation. And this is really the good news. It's we didn't have this type of percentages probably 2 or 3 years ago. So let's look at the landscape and the history briefly of AI. So AI is a vast domain. It's not only Gen AI, like we hear a lot about GPT, OpenAI. It's all sorts of techniques, including statistical techniques, and even some, like you can see on the slide, we are mentioning RPA, and which is robotic process automation, is basically simulating a user on the UI. So it's not really artificial intelligence, it's really automation. OCR was also a technology that we developed, long time ago. There are some providers for the last 2 decades that are specialized in OCR. So those were already some AI technology. Moving to 2020, early machine learning. So even if we hear now about large language model, things like called LLM, we were already doing in the industry machine learning and machine training for fraud detection. And we'll see in some scenarios that Rolf is going to explain, in one of the sections we have in this presentation, where you will see concrete use cases on how we are applying AI and machine learning to help coding invoices, for example. Coding invoices, I'm sure most of the people are familiar here, it's just about having the right chart of account on the invoice, so then it's easier to ingest into the back office ERP. So when we look at the future and with the advances of LLM and Gen AI, there are new use cases that we can deliver that, like for example, we can use AI vision to just from a picture of an invoice convert it into a structured document, so from unstructured to structured document. And actually this challenge on data, we can talk about it on the next slide. So on the next slide, if we look at the good data challenge, when we want to train an AI, it's about training on the right data. So if we train for fraud detection, one of the challenge is you need fraud data if you want to basically train the AI. And maybe this is the best illustration of what we call synthetic test data. So you will have to simulate fraud basically, because if you don't have it into your system, it's very hard to get the machine to train. But in general, the quality of the data is the number one challenge, making sure that whenever it is Gen AI, generative AI, or if it is machine learning, that the data sets that are used are pristine in terms of quality. Some people will ask, should we include AI into our product, into our business process, into our internal departments? It's all and the above. So basically it's internal and external. So if you're a SaaS provider and so in software, you should have a plan on how to enhance some of the business process using artificial intelligence. But internally, there are also techniques like Copilot for engineering, Gen AI for the product teams that also contribute, but it's not only the product and engineering team. Salespeople, CSM should use Gen AI in general. But we want to recenter, on payables for this presentation. And let's move to the next slide, which is what are the considerations and the limitation for AI efficiency. So first, paper, because this has to be converted into a machine readable, even unstructured to structured data. So obviously, it's not only about saving the trees, which is super important. And when we talk about the volume of invoices in some countries, it's very massive. But it's, I will say it's there are still companies, and I think we put some percentages that are using paper. There are some countries where it's 90% electronic. OCR is an old technology. I think there are new algorithms that are way more efficient, way more faster, and this is something, you know, from converting from unstructured, which is basically a picture of an invoice, to structured, which is the XML structure that you can machine read and process. The unstructured data can be also documentation, can be things that you can put into the AI to feed the AI if you want to have a bot. But those are the things that now we are able to manage with all those technologies. And compliance, this is where the AI is limited because they are not in the brain of our regulators. And what's happening around electronic invoices, as you may know for the audience here, there are many countries that are imposing or mandating to have clearance, which is a government clearance. So the invoice has to be cleared by the government on a server, and then this invoice can be pushed to the buyer. Again, the AI will be probably cannot anticipate all those regulations, but at the same time, you know, we can ingest regulation into the AI that will speed basically what are the changes we need to conduct. So what are the disadvantages of not adopting AI? But first, you maybe not as competitive as the companies, your peer companies adopting AI in general, not only in payables. I would say it's all about the all business processes we have in companies, including the products we are selling to customers. So there is a cost of opportunity as well, because AI is definitely accelerating the transformation from to be paperless and touchless. And this is about, you know, basically decreasing the cost of processing an invoice by minimum 50% when you process it like in full straight through processing. And by leveraging artificial intelligence, what we will see in the next section is how we are helping the user to complete or to auto-complete transactions into the system using artificial intelligence. So we, I think I don't know if we do the poll now, but we would like to discuss, you know, the metrics for the payable department, and maybe we should run the poll now, Sarah, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So coming up on your screen is the second poll question. We're going to be getting a bit more into the KPIs that we can impact with AI. And we want to better understand what is the most important KPI for your AP department. I know you may have more than one, but we're asking you to choose your favorite here. So is the cost per invoice most important? Is it the time to process invoices? Is it your straight through processing rates? Is it supplier satisfaction that you're most concerned about? Or would you say it's the processing quality rate? For example, the invoices are paid and booked correctly. So please tick the option that you think is the most important KPI for your AP department. Okay, great. Lots of you voting. I'll be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. And it looks like we have a clear winner here. 47% of you say that processing quality rate is the most important. So quality over quantity here. 28% cited that it's a time to process invoices. 13% said it's straight through processing rates. 9% said cost per invoice, and 3% cited supplier satisfaction. So interesting results there, and good to get your take on this, Rafi, as well.
Yeah, and it was a difficult question because processing quality rate, time to process invoice, and straight through processing are kind of close, but basically they are the majority of the respondents, you know, pick this category. So it's very good, I think, that companies are looking to not only pay accurately, which is you know, avoiding overpayment or even disputes with sellers, but moreover, you know, having the payment expedited and the transaction processed very fast. So when we look at the 5 characteristics, I'm going to focus on 2 on this one. The holistic approach is really to consider AI in the payable department and for many tasks that can be automated, but throughout the company. So really the holistic approach is to look at internal, external, but all departments, obviously we will see that it's very prevalent in payables because those are the areas that needed automation, didn't get much investment in the last decade. So I think AI or advances in AI are coming just timely to help on this business process. The second aspect is technology mastery, and we are talking about end-to-end business processes. And what does provide AI is also the explanation of patterns. It's also giving you visibility on transaction that can they want to surface. We are able to eliminate outliers using AI, so we have nice statistics. So those are the things totally available today, and they are actually available on our platform. If we are looking at best in class payable department, which is the next visual, yes, the goal is to lower the cost of processing invoices. So can be the cost of human intervention, the time, and also the cost of having a seller dissatisfied to not receive the payment in time, or having issues of getting an invoice reconciled and coded into the ERP development. So in average, the cost of an invoice can be at $2.81. We have a disputed invoice can go way over this type of amounts. We have in the industry some metrics saying also $5. When we move to full electronic flows, sometimes we go below half a cent or $1 an invoice. So in terms of processing and cost, those are the metrics we have. So definitely the companies achieving straight through processing or saving tons of money when we have volume of invoices. You can apply, the ratio $2, $1. I mean, those are sizable benefits that can help building a business case. If you're building a project, AI automation in payables, you have a way to create those business case, I think, just by showing the savings, the timing, maybe the seller's satisfaction going up, or the number of disputes going down, the number of tickets you have on payable departments. Most of the time, sellers are asking for, where is my payment? When you have automation, we can also provide a bot where the seller can just ask the question directly to the bot without disturbing the payable department. So those are the things that we best in class payable departments. Some of our customers are reaching high level of automation and straight through processing, over 80% on very large volumes of invoices. And they continue, they want to have more sellers sending invoices electronically. And moreover, now that they have achieved more than 80% STP, they want to use those metrics to report to their leadership and their management, the good work done. And this is the story that we wish every payable department is going to have. So we can move to the next one, because we have also more, about the practices, and this is all about accelerating the process from the invoice issuance to the invoice payment. And there are multiple tasks that are happening in the middle. And in average, some documents can take way longer, but 3.4 days is probably, very short period of time from the seller to the accounting in payables. We can probably bring it even smaller. We are thinking that some invoices for low risk, recurring amount, reputable vendor could be almost auto approved. So you can even decrease the approval for those type of low risk invoices to get really 100% straight through on those type of documents. So I'm going to pause there, because I was explaining some use case, but in fact the best is to have Rolf walking you through various use cases that are implemented in our products. So this is why you can talk about them. And I'm going to switch to Rolf for this section.
Thank you very much, Rafi. Yeah, and I think just to recap briefly, right? We went through and Rafi presented first what is the current technology landscape, what is happening out there, and how can that benefit you in the accounts payable processing. And then last year we heard about what are the characteristics of AP departments that are performing well. And so as we've been talking about, of course, AI can make a huge difference in your accounts payable processing and your payables processing. And so if we go through the entire process of getting an e-invoicing, a digital accounts payable process up and running, let's examine bit by bit how that can be accelerated and made better using AI. So the first activity that happens for any e-invoicing project is that you need to get your suppliers on board. And when if you've ever implemented an e-invoicing project, you know that this is particularly hard to do. You might have not quite as good vendor master data as you would like to have. You run onboarding campaigns, suppliers may or may not respond. They have different master data about themselves. Truly, they are the best source about data on themselves, but it might not quite match what you have yourself. It might be that you have data on one branch in one country, they have slightly different data, it might not match, and so on. And so the first place, and really it is the foundation for the scope of the success of any invoicing project, is to match suppliers with the different sources of data. What is already existing on the e-invoicing network, what the suppliers have, and what you have, and actually making those identities match up correctly. And to do that, AI is absolutely a master at doing the slightly fuzzy matching, verifying the identities, and ultimately making sure that there is unique and clean master data and representation on the invoicing network. If we move to the next stage, as Rafi also alluded to many times, the invoices that do get straight through processed, the ones that are PO based and where there immediately in the invoice is a PO number, PO line level references present in the invoice, linking them to the orders, doing the matching becomes a trivial thing. Or maybe not trivial, but at least it's automatable in a rules-based environment. And two-way, three-way, n-way matching has been a part of all leading solution sets for a long time. However, once you move outside of the invoices that are straight through processed, costs skyrocket. And they skyrocket because they need manual processing. There are unknowns, there are possibly disputes, and all leading solutions, of course, has a collaboration element to the solution, both collaboration internally within the buyer's organization, as well as with the supplier, in order to be able to resolve questions and hopefully resolve disputes so you can process the invoice right there online and in time. But one of the big questions is, who has the right information? And so another way to apply AI is to figure out who is the right person to get into the conversation, to get the right answer and move the process along for that particular invoice. Looking at the third piece here is you might have PO-based invoices that do need to go through straight through processing and do matching. But the information is not immediately available in the invoice that allows the invoice to get linked to the purchase order in question, or the transport order, or the scheduling agreement, or whatever else you have in place that needs to get matched against. And this might be because the supplier system is not able to output the information, they might have forgotten to put it in the document, or in the digitization step, basically the capturing of this information was omitted. However, and we've seen this also with many other clients, there are other bits and pieces of information in your invoice and the context of that invoice that it sits in that allows the linking to actually happen. And so applying AI to make that linking and saying this invoice is with a particular level of confidence crossing a certain threshold, does belong to this transaction, it does belong to this PO, allows for the invoice to move forward to the matching step without having to have manual intervention, so expensive and time-consuming labor, go in and annotate the invoice with that extra information. Moving forward to the next piece, and this is one where AI truly shines. The coding step for actually PO and non-PO invoices alike, primarily non-PO invoices obviously, but the coding step, so annotating your invoice with the chart of accounts so that your cost can get correctly booked in your accounting system, which as we all know is of course the prerequisite for correct accounting, the prerequisite for the right tax determination, VAT reclaim, and all the other processes that go with it, is absolutely essential. It is by and large today a manual process. So if you don't, and it is one that is owned by the buyer, so the supplier cannot assign for you your general ledger codes, right? And so the that manual process suffers from several problems. It is in many places centralized and manual, and so it suffers from repetitive task fatigue, which induces human errors into the process, so basically operator errors. It is because it is centralized, it is not out in the business where you actually know what's going on, and so you get wrong coding information essentially. And it's also slow and it's costly. However, this is also an area where AI can shine, and what we've found to be true is that it requires a particular approach to working with AI models, because this is one where you need AI models that are trained specifically. And Rafi talked a lot about data and having good structured data. You need to get a model that is trained specifically on your documents on this particular coding dimension. So it might be your chart of accounts, your cost centers, your project lists, or your person references. Whatever it is that you're coding your invoices with, you need a model that is trained for that. And the best solutions out there today will do exactly that for you. If we look a little bit and unpack this a little bit, we believe that it's extremely important that you remain in control. And so we understand that for many organizations, giving control to the algorithm and performing this automatically is one where you need to have certainty that you will get the right outcome. And so having the ability to, for instance, say, what is the threshold of confidence that we want to ensure that the AI algorithm and model has before it makes choices, is a parameter that the user has to be able to configure. And what you can see here on the screen is an example of such an interface where you can see how the different outcomes of the AI model being applied to your data with different thresholds will have different outcomes. And so by interactively adjusting the slider back and forth here, you can say, well, what is my particular preference in my accounts payable process for how the algorithm should behave? When am I okay with the algorithm making the decision? And when do I want it to abstain and actually have a manual backup? If we take a step further from that, you also need to have the confidence in saying, well, what then actually happened? And did the algorithm perform better than my manual operators did at a given time? And so again, the best systems out there will allow you to run this in a shadow mode first, see how it performs. So basically it will try to make all the decisions but not apply them. You do manual processing and you see how the two compare. And once you're confident and you say, okay, the AI model is now trained sufficiently, the output, the results that it is getting is good enough, we flip the switch and AI will perform the coding for you. Moving forward to the last piece is as we go beyond the immediate operation. So as we go beyond the immediate processing of each invoice and each transaction, as we all know, analyzing, well, what are we using our money on? What is our spend? What is the categorization of that spend? And how does that distribute? The classification of that is another first order example of application of machine learning. So basically taking the data that is in an invoice, which is not tagged with any formal taxonomy, and applying AI models, generative AI and other models is a really good example of where you can then get structured data out of essentially unstructured data. And so applying this, you will do a categorization, an annotation of all your invoice spend and get back in UNSPC codes on the different levels of the UNSPC taxonomy and hierarchy and figure out, okay, in which commodity, maybe even, are we actually spending our money? So when we look at that overall today, and I think that brings us to the poll question here, is that we'd like to understand for which of these 5 areas would you want or need the AI's help?
That's great, thank you. And so, yeah, on your screen now, you should see a poll question. And based on what we've learned today, I know I've learned an awful lot today. Would you think that you could benefit from having AI matching company profiles for faster onboarding? Again, you can tick all that apply here. Streamlined workflow suggestions, automated document linking and matching, faster and error-free document coding, or product classification that supports spend analysis. So we will be getting into a bit more about how you can actually make this happen, but based on what we've learned today, where do you think you would benefit from the implementation of AI? Ooh, great to see lots of you choosing all of these to varying degrees. So got about 60% of you voting. I'll be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1, and the results are coming up on your screen now. So all of these, at least a third of you have ticked at least one of these, and 61% was the top one, automated document linking and matching. 45% said faster and error-free document coding. 39% said streamlined workflow suggestions, and tied for 4th and 5th place is matching company profiles for faster onboarding and product classification that supports spend analysis. So interesting results there. It'd be nice to get your take on that as well, and also to dive a bit more into how you can make this happen.
Yes, absolutely. I think super good to see and interesting that what we believe are good applications of AI is also mirrored in what everybody here on the webinar today is looking for to varying degrees, right? But definitely no one of these completely fall out, and I think it is actually interesting to see that the document linking getting the higher score, which is also, I think, the one of the key areas where you can really dial up your straight-through processing rate. So how can we make this happen? We have all of these AI capabilities I presented are readily available today in our pay solution, our accounts payable processing solution, all the way from supplier onboarding and matching, all the way through all the accounts payable processing, invoice matching, 2-way, 3-way scheduling agreements, coding, collaboration, you name it. AI is integrated. We started many years ago, developing AI models and algorithms. And of course, all of this has been turbocharged over the past couple of years with the advent of generative AI. But basically, we call all of our AI capabilities ADA with a nod to Ada Lovelace, who was one of the first pioneers in computer science, actually. And so, how do you stay updated? Fairly easily, actually. Our website, we regularly post updates on AI capabilities, and we have more coming out, and Rafi will touch on that shortly. Or you read our fact sheet. There's a link here that will take you to it. And yours truly also has a short segment on our YouTube channel talking a little bit about accounts payable and AI and how that actually works really well together with business networks like Tradeshift. Back to you, Rafi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rolf. And I always enjoy this section where we are, at least when we are showing, the product and especially the threshold. This is very important for us to deliver AI automation and still give you the control on how much you trust or how much confidence level you're going to let the AI take action like an agent. And over time, when users are going to realize that the AI is doing less mistakes than human beings, probably we are going to raise a bit, the threshold, and then you get into a higher level of automation. So what is the one of the I would say the prerequisite, for us to apply all those technologies is to make sure we have pristine data when it comes to invoices. So when we receive invoices from sellers, and we'll talk about the network in a minute, but we apply two set of rules. There are compliance rules that are applied to the country, and then there are business rules that the buyer, for a specific buyer, they will just say, hey, you cannot send me an invoice without a PO ID, or you need to put the PO line ID item, on the line, or you're missing the cost center or something like that. Okay, something that is needed for the payable department to process the invoice and even to continue throughout, matching and approval. So we are very proud at Tradeshift that we have pristine information on invoices, and we control it from the inbound, and even more when we are in clearance countries. So we have business requirements on the top of those clearance compliance requirements. And and we keep copies of the invoice on the buyer side and on the seller side. So just wanted to, this is why we can do machine train. Rolf talked about invoice coding. You don't need much history to get the machine learning kicking. So we need to train the engine on some historical data, like for example, the chart of account to do the auto coding. Probably in 1, 2, 3 months of history, if you have volume of invoices, the machine learning will kick. So you don't need to have a year of history to train the AI. Just wanted to, even a very short data set is good enough to get started. So what is the Tradeshift difference? So we process, large volumes of invoices. So we do that, for large buyers, from 10,000, 100,000 to million of invoices on the platform exchange every year. We would like to have our customers, actually when we meet some customers, we are asking them, do you want to turn the AI? Because some of them, may just use the traditional way of asking the seller to invoice code, or maybe they have a floor of AP agents that they know the commodity code, they know the cost center, the chart of account. But the idea would be to automate this and to dedicate the resource on maybe more added value task for the company. We mentioned invoice coding. We could do down to invoice approval, just to mention that, and of course the invoice matching and linking, those the scenarios that we are very familiar at Tradeshift. We have been doing this business for more than a decade. So we do have a lot of knowledge on how to apply those automation, artificial intelligence into what we call relationship manager matching. So this is the technical term we are using at TradeShift when we match, first we need to find the supplier, and then we need to match the documents, the PO with the invoice. So we'd like to give you a quick overview of our business, at TradeShift. So this is here a visual. We operate a platform where we have large buyers bringing contingents of suppliers, and sometimes a large buyer will bring 10, 20,000 suppliers. So we have also technology to onboard. We even delivered recently an innovation on onboarding suppliers using the first invoice they send. And it's a different topic, but basically this is part of automation, and STP is we need also to automate in mass the onboarding of sellers. So far, we have onboarded 1 million suppliers. Doesn't mean that they are all active accounts. I want to be honest with you, but we did onboard 1 million suppliers in a decade. We are still onboarding on a daily basis suppliers, and we have, a good amount of those suppliers active on a 12 months basis. So what we do on the platform, it's a commerce platform where we enable buyers and sellers to transact. It's a real network, meaning that one seller can work with different buyers without creating new accounts. It's very important to mention that. It's not only to exchange electronic documents, that was the core business for electronic invoices. We have also procurement and marketplace. We believe that marketplace is the future of procurement, providing to procurement agent a shopping cart experience rather than direct catalog procurement. I think there are probably advances there. We do also invoice financing to help sellers to get the payment on their invoices faster than the buyer. We know the buyer have a tendency to extend their payment terms, and so it's about managing the working capital management on both sides. But we can finance the sellers. I will have one visual on it, and we also on the top of having all those capabilities on the procure to pay, we have a fantastic reporting analytics infrastructure. So all those transactions that we are doing on the platform, those exchanges, we are talking here about $250 billion a year. We have processed more than 2.1 trillion in transactions and million of invoices, but everything is centralized in reporting, so you don't have separate data sets when it comes to marketplace payables or e-procurement or financing. Just wanted to mention that. And yeah, so artificial intelligence was already in the DNA of TradeShift. I will show you a bit of roadmap, the things that we are adding specifically around payables. So we did a partnership with HSBC. This was announced in the news. This is a partnership to create a joint venture to provide the invoice financing, or it's called embedded finance, within our products, and to help our sellers to get their invoices finance, and we can apply AI for the qualification, the underwriting, but moreover, we will be able to also provide financing on the entire receivables of the seller, not only the invoices on the platform. Just wanted to mention that. There is a quote actually on the next slide. So we are, this is from the, I think the new CEO, I think they announced a change in the CEO. Basically, this is the quote for the CEO at the time, that basically this is leveraging HSBC, one of the largest global banks worldwide, to provide financial services to our buyers, which is called supply chain finance, and to our sellers, which is called, receivable financing. On the next slide, it's about, showing you a bit of roadmap and giving you some ideas on where to apply AI into our payables, procure to pay processes. So Rolf explain, the existing. So everything that Rolf was mentioning is existing functionality, but it's not something that we developed it last month. No, it's in place since 2020, and we have been improving it, just to mention. So we didn't wake up on AI just like 2 years ago when OpenAI did something. Here we are leveraging in 2024 chatbot, and you see the value is really benefiting to many personas. For us, we are a SaaS platform. We need to think about implementers or partners. We need to think about the buyer users, the seller users, and also the customer service. So we have it running. We use a technology called RAG, so it's retrieval augmented generation. What does that mean? It means that you can augment GenAI, like a GPT bot, with additional information that is specific to your business without sharing with the rest of the world. So what you will put there, for example, you can take your entire business process payables that is documented in best-in-class companies. You can just ingest. It will tokenize, it goes into a vector database, and then you can ask the bot, and it will be the most knowledgeable on your payable processes. But even better, you can even ask the AI, did you find things we can optimize? You will be surprised once they know, and you are not training the world. So I think RAG is something companies should absolutely consider internal, and even if you are selling software, to provide a bot for questions externally. AI document intelligence, I mentioned it. This is the way to replace OCR. There are some technologies on some platform. I cannot mention the name yet. We are working on different partners, but this is high volume, throughput, new type of technology, and this is very different from OCR type of algorithm. We use sometimes scripts to define some complex business rules, so it allows us to adapt to enterprise and any type of needs. And the script is written in JSON code, so it can be a bit technical. With GenAI, we can generate the script, just based on natural requirements, and we are using it to help the configuration of our buyers. And now there is no limit on the complexity, because AI can digest, a script. It can optimize it. It can fix the bugs. We need to remember that consulting, configuring those rules, they are not engineers. They don't have a computer science degree. So it's difficult to expect them to write the right algorithm. And sometimes they will be not optimal. Using GenAI, we can ingest, the rules, and it will spit out optimized rules. And then you can type natural requirements, say, hey, I want to verify that the invoice date is not like prior to today's date or something like that. You can add those rules just by natural language. It will create the script that you can add to your. So I listed more, like AI assisted purchasing. This is to help, the purchasing agent to find the seller, the right product. Maybe there will be more criteria in the future that just cost and quality. We believe that there will be AI applied to ESG, so we want to know the carbon footprint. Is that a reputable seller? What about, diversity and fair labor laws? So those are the things we believe buyers in the future will consider, and AI is going to be very useful to manage all those parameters. It's a lot of parameters. We talk about parameters in those models. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just want to mention one that is interesting, is how to help sellers to create a catalog so they can sell on the marketplace. So they can take invoices, purchase orders, and turn them into a catalog. It takes some AI technology to do that, from an invoice line item to create a catalog. It uses basically AI to help with the job for the seller. So I just wanted to share some ideas and things that we are working on the top of existing functionality, and we wanted to show you that it's about serving different type of personas within the organization, your customers, your partners, and internal, for your employees. Yeah. So that was, wanted to finish on the roadmap. Maybe we have 10 minutes left, for a question and answer. So Sarah, I will switch to you.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I know I learned an awful lot again, and I think this roadmap is just fascinating and really just to see, I think, well, one, how long you've been in the AI game and some really exciting places where it's going. But we are not automated intelligence yet here on the webinar, so you still have to ask us questions manually. If you have any questions, please submit them in the little question box. And again, we have about 10 minutes where we can get to them. So importance of data. I think maybe Rafi, you take this first, but Rolf, feel free to jump in. Question about, you talked a lot about the importance of data and how we can make sure to have good data before thinking about implementing AI. Can you talk a little bit more about that, about cleaning data before AI, or kind of what needs to be done to make sure you get the most out of your investment?
So yeah, so we need mechanism to make sure that the invoice data is very pristine, so those are the mechanisms that we have already in place. Pretty sure that the ERPs that our customers are running have those type of controls, but it's about exporting the transaction data into data sets. So the way AI works is you don't plug it to a relational database, you need to plug it to data set columnar type of storage that are super fast and where you can apply those AI algorithms in Python, for example. So this is the infrastructure is you need to think about where you're going to do your repos of data to do machine learning. You may have data sets just to run across your organization. At Redshift, we provide private data lake to our customers if they want to, if they don't have a technology to have those data sets, but they want to apply Python or have an AI project in their company, we can hand over their data into private data lake that we update on a regular basis on the transactions. Also, something that Rolf mentioned that is super important for customers or users, on this call. So when you have vendors telling that they are going to machine train, you need to make sure that we are going to create a separate repo with your data, and they train only on your data. Those are the things that we make sure at Redshift, in terms of data governance, security. It's not like running those models and train the world. No, we are not like this. We protect, information. Plus, we really make this as a rule, and we train only on customer data. Reason why those chart of account, invoice coding are going to be so high percentages of defaulting and even auto-coded. Rolf, do you want to add anything?
No, I just want to say generally, sort of taking a big step back, this is what I talk about also in the YouTube video that we linked in the chat here, is that a business network like Tradeshift essentially is a big machine that is converting unstructured data into a structured format, and it gets enriched and it also gets qualified in the execution of the business process, right? So at the end of the day, in the private data lake, as you're saying, Rafi, you're sitting with data sets where you know that it is true data. It represents a ground truth that you can use to train your algorithms on and your AI models on for whatever the purpose might be.
That's great. Thank you. Rolf, I might put this to you first, but again, chime in, Rafi. It's about compatibility with listeners asking if your tool is compatible with any financial software. So I take it there's more obvious ERPs, but if you could talk about what tools that Tradeshift is able to integrate into, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Rafi said, we have many enterprise customers, and we are integrated with all of their ERPs. Right, and we have a big part of our technology stack is an iPaaS integrated integration platform as a service called Babelway, and so out of the box supports I don't recall how many, but many formats, many protocols, and essentially it's built for doing self-service integrations. And so we have an open API on the Tradeshift platform itself. Babelway can be leveraged to use that to connect to essentially any accounting system or ERP system or whatever you have in your systems landscape out there, and we've seen most of them.
Yeah, and we are pushing documents, but we can also update statuses. back to the ERP or the procurement system.
Great, thank you. So just a few last minutes. If anyone else has any final questions, we might be able to squeeze it in. But I might just turn back to both of you for maybe final comment on, I guess, timelines of implementation and what kind of ROI you've seen. I might bundle those together a little bit. So if someone is looking to implement this, how long do people start sending you to see results? And especially when do they, kind of start to put a measurable return on investment? If I could just turn to both of you for maybe final comments here.
So the size of the organization and the country coverage is a parameter to consider, in the project length. So the size of the company, enterprise, upper mid-market, so this is determined by the number of employees and revenue threshold, just some definition there. So basically on enterprise may take longer than upper mid-market and mid-market. The goal for upper mid-market and mid-market is to get to 120 days implementation. So those are the very fast, but doesn't mean that you will have a basic configuration so you can start processing documents, and there is still a wealth of parameters and functionality that can be enabled later. You can start even without AI at the beginning, and then turn it on once your flows, you have your suppliers and your buyers. So we offer flexibility. You don't need to turn on all the functionality. We have also templates. So we have templated setup that you can upload. So we have, small business, mid-market, enterprise. We have some templates, so that will accelerate as well. And we are on the iPaaS side. We are working on having libraries of connectors to integrate to ERPs, not only into the buyer ERP, but also to get invoices from the seller ERPs, their billing system. We have integrated sellers that send EDI to large buyers in very large volumes. But this needs to be compatible with clearance, and we do it too. So we don't want to break the EDI flows because this one is valuable. And it's not because a country decided to go clearance that we're going to break what works. And actually, regulators are very aware that they should not break what works. And we can accommodate the two flows. So basically, we can accommodate the EDI flow and the clearance flow. This is part of the same project. It depends on the country. So if you're in a country with clearance, you will have to configure the inbound clearance or the outbound clearance on the top of, I would say, a regular implementation. We plan also to have payable automation and procurement into one product. You can start with electronic invoice, or you can start with purchase request, POs, good receipt matching. We will allow the flexibility for customers who want to start that transformation from any particular aspect of their business for their priorities. Where is the pain point? Where is the cost? So if it is payables, where they can turn on, payables automation at Tradeshift. And later on, if they want to get into purchase order marketplaces, invoice financing, those are the things that can be turned on later.
And Rafi, I think one of the things that is a big differentiator for Tradeshift is what we call, and you talked about it previously, first invoice onboarding, right? So essentially, one of the longest pulls in getting to ROI for any invoicing project is adoption with your supplier base. Yeah. And so what we've done is we've basically taken out all the barriers to entry for an e-invoicing project. So all you need to get going with your supplier base is an email account that we set up for you.
We set up
email address, one email address. You tell your suppliers that. They send their invoices, and through that process, we onboard them to Tradeshift. We do the matching I talked about before, and so forth, right? So basically, as soon as your account is configured, again, templated configuration and implementation, and there's an integration to a ERP system to send the invoices through to a ERP system, then we can get going, and you can get to very high invoice volumes very quickly.
To our knowledge, we are the only one to do it. So we still continue innovating in an area where the industry was doing a status quo, which is supplier onboarding. And we believe this is, when we talk to our large customers, we are super excited to. So we have pilot customer testing. We released this feature in June. So yeah, it's a good point into automation, is to make sure that we can also onboard fast. And yeah.
That's great. Well, we are approaching the hour, so I just want to say a really big thank you, Rolf and Rafi. I always learn so much. Sorry, I just combined you two. It's your new couple's name. But no, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I always learn so much from you. And I know we could probably talk for about 2 hours, but just want to draw your attention. We've got a few other events coming up, also with TradeShift, about AP and AR aligning, and that'll be in September. And what does good look like for smaller enterprise companies? We'd love to see you at those. And again, reach out to the TradeShift team. They're so knowledgeable. Feel free to drop Rafi or Rolf's name as well, and you'll go to the top of the list, I'm sure. So just want to say thank you again, and we really look forward to welcoming you next time. So thank you all, and thanks again for all the participation in the polls and everything. We love to hear from you, and thanks again for the team at TradeShift as well.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, Sarah.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.